Hello everyone, I am finally back. I know it's been a while since I did my last video and I haven't really done a surgical update video. It's been about 2 months since I had my forehead surgery and breast augmentation surgery, and everything has healed up amazing, and I wanted to kind of go through all of that. And then I also actually had a rhinoplasty done only a week ago, and I just went to the doctor today for my follow-up. This is my second rhinoplasty. I had my first one done 12 years ago when I first started transitioning. Wasn't even living full-time. In my opinion, I feel like the surgeon was a little bit too conservative and just altered my nose, and it really wasn't actually made into a feminine nose. I did get all of my photos from the surgeon that I used here in the Atlanta area, so I will include those in this video so you guys can see the difference in everything. And those of you that know me know that I have had some chronic sinus problems, really bad deviated septum. I've had 2 sinus surgeries in the last 3 years and just chronic sinus infections. So my septum was really jacked up, and so this surgery was honestly about 60% of it was really to correct that and improve my quality of life and correct that deviated septum, and it's literally like night and day. And here my little kitty's coming to say hello. This is Miss Abby. She's a little crab apple. You get down, girl. It's my show. But anyhow, so first things first. We are going to start with the forehead. So it is really just about 2 months since I had the forehead and the breast augmentation, and I cannot be more happy with the results of both. So first, so here is my forehead incision. You can see it's just crazy how it's healing and is almost invisible. And if you guys look really close, you can see all of these little baby hairs are coming in, all of these short hairs. And then these are called recession areas. The hairdresser and me. These recession areas are actually starting to fill in because of how he does the suture. The suture is done in the manner that as things start to heal, the hair will start to grow back through the incision line and conceal it. So as you can see, she is trying to get back up again. No, girl, it's my show. But anyhow, so it's coming. No, you cannot co-host. Abigail, she's a character. So there's a little spot over here. It's a suture that is still below the surface that needs to dissolve yet. He's kept an eye on it and he said it's fine. There's dissolvable sutures that are in there that are meant to take longer to dissolve to keep all of those tissues anchored. Yeah, so that little spot is just a little spot of the dissolvable sutures. This one's just being a little bit stubborn. There are sutures that are inside there that are kind of permanent sutures, and then there's sutures in there that are the type of dissolvable sutures that are created to take a much longer time to dissolve, even up to 6 months. So this one will settle down, and it's definitely getting better and better, so it's fine. It doesn't even bother me, just can feel it. But it's crazy, like, I don't know if the camera is really picking it up, but how faint the scar is. I mean, like 2 months, come on. And so how this is like filling in so much. And I'm just in love. So I thought it would be interesting to throw in a few before photos. That might be a little bit too before. This was me when I was 5. I just thought it'd be cute to throw in there. So silly, still smiling. The next photo is me in my early 30s, one of my first times doing drag, horrendous drag at that. Before my first rhinoplasty, obviously you can see how strong my nose was and how strong my brow bone was. The next photo is me about 2 years before I began my transition on vacation in Nice, France. Absolutely miserable, unfortunately. And then this photo is me after I've been living as Sabrine for, gosh, Easy, probably 6 years, and a dear friend did a gorgeous photo shoot, but you can see that was even after my first rhinoplasty. Not really a feminine nose at all, and strong brow bone. And then the next series of photos are just before my surgery. These were done just a few months ago. My plastic surgeon was really kind enough to share these photos with me that he took, and you'll see a few more. And then you can see I'm going to do a little profile shot. So I'm going to pull my hair back. So can you see? Yeah. Okay, so you can see the profile, see how much the forehead has changed, especially the glabella area, and the brow bone was very much more prominent on me. So these next couple photos, you can see how strong my brow bone was, and in that glabella area right between my eyebrows, and then here how pointy my nose was and the projection that it had, how far it came off of my face. I just hated my profile, just horrible. So much better now. Prominent for me, and cosmetic surgery and FFS in general is a very subjective thing. I think within the trans community, there's such a conversation about what being trans feminine looks like. And it really depends on you. It's what makes you feel whole, what makes you feel authentic, most importantly, and what makes you feel beautiful, and what's important to you in your journey. And these were things that were very important to me. So as you can see with the rhinoplasty, everything's healing up good. Got the tape off today. Had a suture that's where they go into the nose. Had sutures here he just took out. So he like closed in the nose, narrowed the outside of the nose a little bit, the nostrils. And then this is still quite swollen. Doesn't hurt at all. It's amazing, week out. This is still quite swollen, but that'll settle down. So what he did was he fixed the bridge of my nose, and you'll see again, I'll insert the photos like as the video is going along so you can see. The bridge of my nose, there was an indentation where it had basically kind of collapsed. In this photo, I zoomed right in on the center of my nose. You can see that little V-shaped shadow that showed where my nose had collapsed. Due, unfortunately, to my first rhinoplasty. I think when they went in, they were a little bit too aggressive. And then he refined the tip a little bit, so created less projection. That's what I wanted. And then as it heals more and more and the swelling goes down, it will have just the most delicate, slight turned up nose to be a little bit more feminine. In general, women's noses, when you look at them from the side, this inner part, this little septum, kind of dips down a little bit more. So that's something to pay attention to. I can't get over it. For it being only a week out, I'm just like over the moon with it. And like every time I look in the mirror, I just can't believe what a difference. I feel like it really has opened up my face between having the forehead done and now the rhinoplasty. It's really made such a difference. And I will put in the description box the surgeons that I use here in the Atlanta area for my facial surgery and then for my breast augmentation. So, the girls. So when I first had my breast aug done, it was over 10 years ago. I think it was like between 10 and 12 years ago when I first started living full-time as Sabrine. And I was just so excited to get boobies. Like, GRS for me was the end goal, and I had that done in December '09, so that's been a while. But, for me, breasts were just like icing on the cake of the journey. And I didn't want to be ostentatious and go too large. I see a lot of trans individuals and even cis females just go really big. And it's not, I'm not saying that from a judgment perspective, but I didn't really feel that was my journey. So I went with what I described to the surgeon as an athletic B. And I opted for saline implants. One, they were cheaper, and then he told me at the time, again, my didactic memory, I never forget a thing, that it would be easier, it's easier for him to create and modify the pocket as he's doing the surgery with saline implants. There's more room for kind of creativity and modification as opposed to silicone implants, whatever that means. And at the time, I went with 270 cc's. And so I had those in for a while, and I remember in my last video, I forgot to insert photos, and I do have before and after photos, so I'll insert those in so you can see. Okay, this photo is what I was talking about. This was the day of my breast surgery a couple months ago, and my breasts were horrible. They were just in two different directions, so far apart, conical and pendulous. Ugh. As the time went by, like when I first got them, I loved them. And for several years, I loved them. And maybe it was just, I was, again, just so excited to have breasts here, like, you know, I have to think, oh my gosh, like almost 40 years into my life. And I was like, oh my God. But as time went by, they started to kind of creep down a little bit. And at first they were sisters, but then they became like stepsisters, and then they became like cousins twice removed. They started to like kind of creep down my chest and started to go almost like farther apart. And a common frustration and complaint and reality of obviously trans feminine individuals. I'm 5'9", I'm about 150, 55 pounds, that I'll admit to. I'm not huge, I wear like a 36, 34 bra. But there was such a space between them, and especially if I like flexed my muscles and they like moved, they were even farther apart. And it was almost ironically enough making me feel more dysphoric than if I had been flat-chested and never had them done. And I felt ugly, and I didn't feel pretty. And I knew that the time had come that they should be replaced anyway, so I went for a consult, found an amazing doctor in the Atlanta area, Dr. Diana Alexander. Love her, she's got my heart. Just like a little love bug, little tiny peanut, little powerhouse. She looked at me, she goes, baby, they're too small. She's like, you know, you're tall. She's like, you need more, they need to be bigger. And honestly, she said, I can't remember the last time I even did saline implants. Nobody's getting them anymore. And like, you know, there was a study that was done, and the new silicone implants, there's no fear of health issues or anything like that, especially with the encapsulated silicone, the jellies. And so she started throwing out numbers of cc's, and I was like, oh, because I had 270, and she was like, I really think you need to be up like 500 or even bigger. She's like, you know, just with your shoulders and your rib cage, you know, you just will support it so much better. And I just really got such a great vibe from her, and trusted her. And we wound up going with 600. And that number even scared me at the time, like 600. I was like, oh my God. But I trusted her. We went with a medium profile, 600. I cannot tell you how in love I am with them. And they've healed up so beautifully. I had no problems. Obviously, this surgery was way easier than my initial breast aug because the pocket was already there. She just had to make it a little bit bigger. The recovery really wasn't bad at all. The breasts were really nothing compared to like the forehead. The forehead was a little intense. But here are my girls. So you can see, cute little bra. Thank you, Target. So everything is just healing up great. So you can see they're not ginormous, but it's crazy. So you can see, like, it's much more proportionate. Yes, obliques. I'm gonna get back to the gym now that it can work out. But I really just love them. Let's see. So that's the suture now. So again, still only 2 months out, and everything's just healing up great. They feel so natural, they feel so soft, and this is another thing when you're trans, and I didn't know about boobies. Yes, I'm gonna keep saying boobies. You don't know like what they're supposed to feel like. You know, I've always been with men. I identified as a gay male for 20 years. Yes, I was married to a woman in my early 20s. That's a whole nother video. But I don't know what boobies feel like, you know? And that's one of the things that I've been so blissfully struck by. I'm not gonna cry. Is they feel like they're mine. And one of the great advantages of silicone implants is that when you touch them, they feel warm to the touch. So they literally feel like they are part of you. I didn't have that with the saline. The saline isn't the same. It doesn't absorb your body temperature as much. So I'm like, oh my God, like I'll be 50 in February 8th. And so to go that long and then be at this age and feel that and have such a sense of feeling whole as a result of something so simple like this is really a beautiful, beautiful life moment. And I, during my last checkup, I said to her, I said, thank you for making me feel beautiful. And she was just so sweet and gave me a big hug and just is a love bug. But everything is going really good. Like I said, I will include my pre-photos in this. I will try and splice them in so you guys can see the differences in the facial surgeries. I think for a lot of people that know me, they're like, oh yeah, you know, the forehead and everything, you just look fresher, it's just a little bit softer, it's not that dramatic. But when you see it in the photos, it's quite a change. And not to mention my hair is growing out, so I finally growing, trying to grow it back out a little bit longer. So things are doing really good. Life is really good. I'll do another update on the schnoz on the nose as it gets better and better. But feeling fishy, feeling like tilapia. I love you all, and I hope you're having a fabulous day. Kisses. And I have to say, I was very proud of myself when I went to the doctor today for the checkup after the rhinoplasty. Dr. Carson Wynn, great surgeon, amazing. Again, I'll put his information down in the description box. He was taking out the stitches. They're, again, stitches. They're like stitches along these lines. There are stitches along here. This is just like a little bit of a bruise from the surgery. And then there were stitches in the interior because they kind of fillet open the mucosal lining to access the septum. So he was like stitching that. And he said to me, he said, I have to tell you, your sutures are very clean. He's like, you've really been taking good care of this, and as he instructed me to. And I said, well, yeah, I'm like, it's a big investment, you know, having the rhinoplasty done with the septum and everything was not cheap, but it was, you know, something I really needed to do. And he said, no, this is like the cleanest nose. Abigail, you are not being the co-host. Come here, Abby. It's our cat. Okay, we'll let her be the co-host. Come This is Miss Krabappel. No, I'm not holding you correctly. So this is what we call, this is what we call a sack of potatoes. So she kind of like crawls up here and likes to hang over like a little sack of potatoes. Look at her little toe wrapped around me, holding on. So anyhow, so before we were so rudely interrupted. So he said to me, he said, no, of course see a lot of patients and aftercare. He said, this is literally like the cleanest sutures I have ever seen. Like, they're perfect. Like, there's no crust or anything. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna care for it. He was like, what did you do? They're really exceptional. So since I've had such crazy sinus problems, I found an amazing ENT up in the Atlanta area, Dr. John Coleman, right on Peachtree. And he prescribed something that no ENT had ever prescribed. And it's called a nasal nebulizer. So almost like a nebulizer that someone would breathe into when they have asthma and problems like that. This is similar, and it's a little cup, and it has, of course, a little machine, and you fill the cup full of saline, or if they happen to give you antibiotics or a steroid, and then you hold it up to your nostril, and it blows up this super, super fine mist into your nostrils. And it's able to get, I need to put you down because I need to articulate and gesticulate. She's going to come in. Hold you later. So when you do, the neti pot's amazing, but when you do the neti pot, it really just kind of goes through and will kind of clean out basic areas. It's not really going to get up into, stop. It's not going to get up into the frontal area or over into this sphenoid area. And this does that because it's such a fine mist. It will really just get up in there and kind of clean everything out. And when he initially gave it to me, of course, I used it with 2 different antibiotics in the solution and also a steroid in the solution to just reduce the swelling, suspended in a saline solution, and you like mix it all yourself each time. It's a little bit of work, but anyhow. So when I was recovering from the rhinoplasty, I would use it with just saline solution because Dr. Wynn was telling me to do saline flushes with the little atomizer. I hate those bottles. So I was like, oh, let me use this. This would be really good. And it's such a fine, gentle mist, and it just really would get up there and just loosen like any crusts or anything. So if any of you have any sinus problems, you can find them on Amazon, and it's been a lifesaver for me. It's amazing. And it's called NasoNeb. And I'll put the link in the description box for that too. You guys are making me do a lot of work. But that has been a lifesaver for me and just been so good, and that just helped clean everything up. But so I thought I would just brag a little bit about my clean, pristine sinus passages. So that's it. And so for the week, while I was recovering, I had tape over my nose, over the bridge of my nose going down. I still have to put that on at night, just over the bridge, a couple overlapping strips to help protect the nose. And then I did have tape along the whole bottom, kind of to support it. And then I had this cute little thing. Look at this. I did not have this with my first surgery. So this is really cool. It's like this kind of like honeycomb cast that I imagine that they initially, wet it and then place it over the nose, and it hardens. And so that was on there. So that was really cool. And so it came off sometime night before last. I woke up and I looked over in the bed, and it was laying there next to me in the bed. So it had popped off. I think like when I was yawning. like my nose with scrunch up, and it was like loosening up as the week was going on. But this was really cool. Super, super comfortable. Love it. So. Okay, in this next series, I'm going to do a little further graphic explanation like they do in sports. So here is my photo before. These are photos from the doctor's office. They were kind enough to share them with me. So you can see the tip, the projection. They reduced the projection and brought the tip in, and also brought the sides of the nose in to create just a smaller nose in general. And then, of course, fixed the bridge where there was that flaw. Here you can kind of see that how strong my brow bone was and how different it is now. And then also how far back my recession areas went. They were really dipping back there. Look at me doing graphics and techie stuff. Love it. So here we are onto the next picture. You can really see kind of like where that collapse in the nose is, and how much projection the tip of the nose has, which really bothered me, and also my prominent brow bone. So we'll go through that a little bit. You can see the tip, again, for me, sticking out way too far. Again, just my preference. Did not like that, just hated my profile when I saw it in photos. Again, the bridge of the nose, you can really see where that dip is, where it kind of collapsed and was not structurally sound. And how prominent the brow profile, that's the glabella area, right between my brows, how strong that is. And even up higher on the forehead here, you can kind of see. Just now, it's just a much softer, natural, feminine hairline. And also note how high that my hairline was even in that photo. And we're going to go on, still doing techie stuff. Oh my goodness. So here you can really see like where that kind of divot is in the bridge of the nose. Again, the width of the nose that was brought in on each side. Again, maybe go back in my video and look at some of the video that I filmed today. Again, right there, it was almost like a V, and I could feel it. I'm so glad that was corrected. Now it just feels much more structurally sound. The tip was brought up a little bit, so it will have a little bit of an upturned, delicate fashion, and then the tip has been refined.